Hence the highlighting, I get it now, okay. And we'll trash items, human resources, we have item 11A, approval of,
Michael Davis.
okay. Need a motion? Oh, as Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources, sorry. And Bruce, second by Mr. Wynn. Questions, concerns, clarifications?
Well, if I could talk about Mike for just a minute, it's
Awesome.
my pleasure to recommend the cabinet's recommendation, most importantly, the superintendent's recommendation for Michael Davis to become the next assistant superintendent of human resources. He's been an educator for 25 years. He served for 5 years in the high school district, teaching English and social studies. He served as the cross-country and track coach there. Then he came to Amargosa and Amargosa and Parkview, where he taught for 6 years. He was an assistant principal in our district for 5 years, and then a principal in our district for 5 years. And he's been director in human resources for 4 years. And it is with great pleasure that we bring him for your approval this evening. We will also be bringing him back next board meeting with his official contract.
Okay, thank you. Hearing that, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Oh, yeah. Are they get glad for you? Are they just, trying to shut you up? Mike, you're welcome. It looks like you got one little babies coming.
I ate one though. There you go.
Probably.
If you don't know, Mike is notorious for giving out the W awards. He is very good at affirming people, and with the certificate, they get a piece of cake that's good for the next 84 years.
I would just like to say thank you very much. I welcome the opportunity to serve the district in a higher capacity and touch more kids. And I just want to say hi to my kids who are watching online and my mom and my Aunt Ellen.
Oh,
So thank you very, very much. I appreciate it. I hope to serve you.
Thank you. Okay, yeah, he's gonna need a bag. Approval of principal.
Jeff Westreicher.
Okay, for the Leadership Academy / Rise, use a motion. Moved by Mr. Teepee. Second by Mrs. Bruce. Go ahead, Mr. Condon.
Okay, thank you. Jeff has served as an assistant principal in our district for the past year at Paiute. Before he came to us, he was an experienced assistant principal, a position he held for 3 years. He's also served as a multiple subjects teacher, teaching grades 4, 5, and 6 in Palmdale, and also a learning support teacher. He has a real heart for students who have special needs, and he's going to be a perfect fit for TLA and RISE, and we look forward to him bringing his leadership to the school and reimagining and reinventing all the good that will be going on there. So, congratulations.
Okay, let's take a vote before he gets out of town. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is 5-0. Right.
Jeff, it wasn't too long ago, you were sitting in almost that same seat and you introduced your family. They're here again tonight. I'd love for you to introduce them again.
First, I'd like to thank you. I'm humbled and honored to be given an opportunity to serve the families and students of Lancaster. So I appreciate the opportunity to be in this position. Have with me my beautiful wife, Mary Chris, my son, Jeffrey, my other son, Ethan, and my other son, Evan. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, congratulations. All right, it seems like it might be ice cream tonight, even though it's windy and nasty out, but it's still good for ice cream.
So bad.
Okay, my favorite part, addressing the board. Individuals who wish to address the board may complete a speaker card and present it and any supporting documents to the deputy superintendent or other district official prior to the start of the meeting. Personal information such as student/parent/guardian's name, address, phone number, date of birth, email address, or other directory information as defined in Education Code 49061 may be excluded from the minutes of the meeting by submitting a written request to the superintendent. The board president shall recognize individuals who wish to speak and individuals wishing to present testimony to the board concerning specific items on the agenda may do so once that item has been moved, seconded, and is on the floor for discussion. Time limits of 3 minutes per person and 20 minutes per item shall be allowed. That's board law bylaws 9322. Board members may ask questions for clarification purposes. However, no action may be taken and no discussion may take place on an item not on the consent agenda. At this time, we'll take comments from PTA. I'm waiting for it. We got some movement. This might be pivotal.
Good evening, board. Good evening, everybody. I'm Misty Gill, principal of Desert View, and we worked very hard to get a PTA up and rolling at our school. And it was all due to the efforts of Mrs. Evelyn Jimenez. And I would like to introduce who, the president of our PTA board.
Thank you.
And myself, we've been working really hard, to get those of you PTA going, and luckily, March 9th, we became official with 101 members. Yeah. So it's a great opportunity. Parents are excited. They're willing to help us and work with the school, and we have many good things coming. Right now, we're working with Gail on a culmination ceremony for both kindergarten and sixth graders. This will be, I think, the first ceremony in a good many years, right? Yes. So parents are excited about that. We've been working to raise funds. We've already done a garage sale to help raise funds for the culmination ceremony. That went really well as well. We're also working on open house. You'll see us there, which is this Thursday. We'll be also selling things for raising funds for future events. And we're also going to have an association meeting, our first association meeting on May 3rd. And we are working with Ms. Gale on Teacher Appreciation Week as well. So many good, fun, and exciting events will be happening at Riverview.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us. We are so happy you came to update us, and you're doing a great job. You're getting 101 members already. And if you see us at the open house, try to hit us up, because sometimes we'll join.
Oh, I'm sure will.
Just a hint. Back in the day, if they ask, I would do it. So thank you for coming. Okay, CFDA. We're going to have another surprise. No. All right. I don't know Dean is here with Hal, so come on down.
Morning, or good evening, sorry, no surprise. I just want to say good evening and just pass along that teachers are very busy with testing and lots of activities going on campuses. And I just want to end with saying congratulations, Mr. Davis. We're all looking forward to working with him in the capacity of HR superintendent. So hopefully everybody's doing well and have a good evening.
Thank you. All right. I guess at this time, we have any comments from the audience? No? Okay. We'll move on. We have item 13, consent agenda items, superintendent items 13A through 13E. Motion moved by Mr. Nguyen. Second by Mr. Teepee. Questions, concerns, clarifications? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion passes 5-0. We have item 14, consent agenda items, business items 14A through 14N. Anybody want a motion? Moved by Diane Rhodes. Second by Nicholas Bell. Questions, concerns, clarifications?
Mr. Giles, I did want to point out that on item G, where it says contract with Caldwell Forest Winters Advisory Service, Coach Rowe, who you're familiar with, reached out and said, it shouldn't say advisory services, it should just say Caldwell Forest Winters. The contract language does say that. I just wanted the board to be aware that it's not with their advisory services division.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Anything else? Okay. Being done, all in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you for clarifying that. Okay. Don't skip anything here. On item 15, we have consent agenda items, educational services items 15A through 15M. Anybody want a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Diane Grims. Second by Greg TV. Questions, concerns, clarifications? Shout-outs?
I'd like to ask that the item.
Okay, did anybody want to? Yeah, I think it already happened. Happened yesterday.
The situation was they were going to donate and then at the last minute had to make a monetary donation rather than a donation, so pay the vendors. Work out. So in order to be. It says happened when we get after the fact. Approvals on our agenda. And taco trucks have no hot running water, no restrooms, and no cleaning services. Don't comply with a lot of the city activities that are required of business. It did take place at, so there was access to restrooms. So.
I think the recommendation is to separately on this, I think we should move forward with that.
Okay, so I have a motion to pull item I and a second by Mr. TP to pull that for separate vote. Is that okay? So that for a separate vote. Okay, so
I just wanted to ask, Jamal Brown and Sunnydale, is that for which event?
Sunnydale is riding the high of the Black Knowledge Bowl, so they're wanting to now have the Latino Bowl. So they're,
Okay, so they are
No.
going to do that.
right, they're wanting to do
I
that.
hope we really make an announcement for that. It is important. And Jamal does so much for our district.
okay, so we need to vote on this. So all in favor of pulling item I from the agenda? Item 15?
Aye.
Aye. So item to be pulled is passes 5-0. Okay, so we want to vote on the rest of them, or are we still on deal with that next? All right, and then so now we're going to go vote on the rest of the items. All in favor of items A through M, excluding item I? All in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 5-0 on that. Okay, so now we need to go back and vote on the item I. Is that what we're doing? Okay, so we need, what do I need to do? Okay, we're gonna open up item I for discussion. Robert's Rules of Order, everything's so smooth until somebody changes it up. Oh, maybe that's okay. We're gonna figure it out. All right. So item I, we have some discussion, more discussion. Anybody else want to talk about it? Talk about it?
No, I'm in favor of the food trucks because as a result of the pandemic, I think they've really changed their expertise. The city is using them in their parks. I believe they fall under the purview of the health department for their licensing and regular inspection. So I would be in favor of using food.
Was the discussion that, or was it also come to the, well, after the fact as well? I don't like the things that after the fact, it's kind of simply not having a board if you're gonna do it ahead of time.
We need to do a better job, in not moving forward with items that we don't get board approval for. So I will apologize for that and we'll make sure that we do better next time.
I mean, I know things come up and things sneak up on us, it happens, but
But, we understand absolutely the reasons why, and, the board is absolutely correct that we should not be bringing things to the board after the fact. So we will do better.
And I do have Krista Thompson here who could speak about how the procedures operated that day because they did close down every 15 minutes for cleaning. So if you'd like to hear more about specifics of the day. Yes.
okay. Krista, come on down. She wasn't expecting it either, I think. But hey, thanks for being here.
Good evening. Sorry, I apologize. I know that I've been on a board myself. I know that this is not a good thing, but I do want to say that this was very unexpected. We knew that we would have food trucks at this event. We've been planning this event for months. But we were going to have a vendor that was going to donate money for the food trucks. They came at the last minute, March 29th, and told us that they couldn't donate directly to the food trucks. They would have to pay to us. So on your board agenda tonight, you have the donation check from Tacos El Afro. That is their donation check. It just, in terms of the timing when they told us that, it just turned out that it was after the time for this evening. So we do apologize. It's not that we didn't know and didn't plan, but we weren't expecting to have to go to the board to do this.
This is the very first time I've ever seen an approval for a food truck.
It was a surprise to us as well. We've had food trucks at our family events before and weren't expecting to have to go through the board. We're learning new processes from time to time.
And these are all approved by the city of Lancaster.
Yes, so that food truck had a sign on their trucks. They may have to close down every 15 minutes to comply with the city of Lancaster for their. We have other food trucks on our vendor list, but this is the first time I think we've gone through this particular. It was a great event.
I know they had a restaurant doing tacos at Monte Vista's back to school night, but they did it like on the side. So they didn't have a food truck. So I'm assuming they have a business license as well. So, I mean, it smelled great. I didn't get to eat it. I didn't plan for it because they sold tickets ahead of time, but they're approved apparently. Thank you.
Thank you and our apologies.
It's just, the food truck is okay. I know it's somebody trying to make a living. And I understand that 100%. But with COVID, we went through 2 years of hell. With nobody being able to touch anything. We can't have parents bring cookies to school. But we can have somebody handing you a taco off a truck. Just,
It's a good draw for our families at these events, because otherwise we're not able to provide them with any food, so to speak. So it's a good incentive to help get our parents at these events. So that's one of the reasons.
Okay, well, thank you. Okay. So now what? That's gonna be awkward as heck. All right, well, so do I need to make a motion to, okay, we're gonna vote on item I. Right? All in favor? Opposed? So motion passes 4-0. I'm sorry, 4-1. I'm right back to the old days. Okay, sorry. All right, we're going to move on to item 16. Consent agenda items, human resources services, items 16A through 16C. Anybody want a motion? moved by Mr. Nguyen. So I'm gonna give it to Analyst Carlson. I heard you guys both. Okay, questions, concerns, clarifications? Pretty self-explanatory. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Here we have legislative and policy discussion. We have a bunch of second readings. Anybody have questions or concerns about those? Now's the time. Anything you see a problem along there, Larry? You watch these things pretty close.
The ones for the business division,
Got you, Matt.
they're in good shape. I can't speak to the other ones.
Most of them are, yeah, true. Any other questions, anybody? Okay. So we're gonna go ahead and do all this comments and then we're gonna move on to the forum. Is that how we're gonna do it? Okay, we're gonna actually close this meeting out and then we're gonna give it to Dr. Goins. Is that the way I understand it? Oh, okay. So we're not gonna close the meeting. 6, 1, half dozen other. Okay,
We will adjourn the meeting.
so then technically we could leave. I wouldn't do that to Dr. Goins, but
Dr. Goins is prepared.
we need to hear what he has. He's the guy, okay? That's okay. Well, let's see. Well, at this point, let's go ahead and do the comments from the board. I guess we'll start with Mrs. Grimmonson today.
Well, I wanted to thank Rosemary Napoleon for being our driver. We went down to an all-day seminar on special education legal issues that was presented by our attorneys, and it was a great educational opportunity just to see the way the different courts at the different levels are involved with special education legal issues. It's complicated, but our presenters made it quite entertaining yet engaging. And I really do appreciate your good driving. And we got through the traffic with today, great speed. Well, she didn't speak. Safe efficiency. So, and with 4 backseat drivers, she did a fabulous job. I went to the Monte Vista Open House to visit the COPS program. They presented at our last board meeting. And, you know, to see the presentation here at the board and then immediately go and see the classroom. A couple of parents came in, a couple of kids came in. One of the teachers was giving me an explanation of how she valued the opportunity to really make a difference at the very beginning of their kids' lives and in school education, and how valued she felt through the whole spectrum of her work. And I have to say, you know, I commend this program. I think we ought to duplicate it as much as we can. This is where we touch kids at the very foundation of their learning. And I was just very impressed. Also, they had, it's a great turnout. I ran into you and your family. The little library has been inundated already. The kids just love being able to go in and borrow books. That was the one that was installed just last month by Rotary and with the funds from Waco. So it was great, great event. That's about it for now.
All right, thank you. We'll go to Ms. Carlson. We'll do the ladies first.
Want to congratulate Desert View on putting together your PTA. I'm actually looking forward to getting a lot more information from that. Seems like you guys are off at a really good start. Congratulations to the 2 promotions that happened this evening. Davis and Striker. Congratulations on your new positions. Look forward to hearing more from you guys on those things as well. Other than that, it wasn't a lot really. Go through so much this evening, but I do agree with Mr. Nguyen on the concern with just the safety of our students and everyone as far as trucks and stuff like that. I think that it's a great idea. We just want to make sure that keeping everybody safe as we're providing food and meals and stuff for our events. So
Thank you. We'll go ahead and go to Mr. Wen. I'll keep track.
Well, congratulations, Desert View. Students, fantastic PTA. I'm support Keith 100%. Tell him to see us. Come to your open house. Fair game. We got a fair game, and I've been a PTA member for 30 years. I know how important it is, so please count on us. Thank you, Rebecca, for the attendance report. We lost no one, which is good. Attendance is down a little. They're getting to the end of the year, and I think that sometimes has a big issue. People are moving, changing jobs, leaving the city. So I can understand a little bit of change. The rest of the things that are going on, the open houses at the schools, you're doing great, Michael. You're doing great. I see there's 8 substitute teachers in the building. Not a single new. I know you're out there.
Found a few.
Keep up the good work. Keep up the good work. And everyone, Janice, I love the fact that Monte Vista is doing so much on social media. It's fantastic. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Chippy.
And again, congratulations to Mr. Davis and Mr. Rector, for your new continuing in your positions. And it was great to hear from PTA and Cal. We've been waiting for PTA for a while, so congratulations on that. And yeah, I was a little concerned. Mr. Nguyen brought up the taco truck because I have eaten the tacos al afro, but I'm doing good, so. And I know a lot of times the food's important at those events. That's what brings a lot of parents out sometimes. But yeah, great meeting, and I'm looking forward to the presentation by Dr. Goins.
Okay. Dr. Marietti.
Hey, I want to first acknowledge all of our open houses and all the hard work we're doing. It's been great to see the turnout at the several that have already occurred. I know that we have a lot more coming up, so hopefully everybody can get a chance to go out to our open houses and see the wonderful. The classrooms are looking great. The teachers are very excited to welcome parents in, and it's been really nice. So I also want to acknowledge Sam and the work you're doing on our testing. It's testing season. And so everybody's engaged. You know, I went and saw the principal and the assistant principal, and they were collaborating on how to get the kids motivated for the testing that's coming up and how to encourage them and promote the testing so that students take it seriously. So we really appreciate that. And good luck with all of our testing. I know our kids are going to do fabulous. And then lastly, I do want to acknowledge the PTA. That is a great accomplishment. PTAs are just one more way to make those connections to our community, to build the collaboration between our community and our schools, and to let all of our parents and community members know that these are their schools, that we're here for them and they're working together and they're welcoming them back into schools after COVID and letting them know that we're partners in the education of their children. So way to go. And I do look forward to Dr. Goins this evening. I know everyone's going to stick around for the wonderful presentation. So way to go.
All right, thank you. Okay. It did. All right, you can talk fast too. All right. Well, there's not a whole lot more to say. Congratulations, you guys are new on your promotions. That's awesome. I know you guys are going to do great, and looking forward to seeing good things from you guys. did get to go back to school nights and got to give blood. I saw Dr. Marietti over there too, so I know he gives his blood to the district as well. So
Oh, negative.
yeah, oh, that's what they love that because I'm all positive they love that too. So yeah, we're pretty popular over there. And the guy said, "Hey, we're good leaders." So that guy, he's always trying to get everybody pumped up. So anyway, barbecue town, yeah. But anyway, it's for a good cause. It was for Fulton Osbury, so it was good. Yeah, I do. It was nice to have our PA speaker. Haven't had one in a while, and I think their open house is tomorrow, and I can't go. I do double duty. I go work another job tomorrow night, so I will bring the money by for the PA. Hopefully, it's not like $50 now. Back in the day, it's $3 or $4. It's like what? 10. But yeah, I can handle 10. I'll bring it by. So I'm really close. I can get it to you. So if you don't see it by next week, call me. I forgot, but I will do it since I told her I would. Okay, with this, we'll recess to the closed session. And oh no, we are not. We're gonna just adjourn. Man, I gotta go back to Robert's Rules of Order to take a class or something. Okay, we're gonna adjourn at 6:35. I need a motion. Moved by Mr. Nguyen, second by Mr. Carlson. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's 5-0. Thank you. Okay, Dr. Goins, it's all yours. Yeah. Yeah, we're watching.
On the same name, back here.
We're gonna catch
Three
strong.
boxes were locked out. I've got 15 minutes. And right
On the clock.
Really?
No.
Seriously, it's Dr. Freeze would make sure that I.
Hear you.
Sorry. And Dr. Freeze has made sure that I know that I've got 15 minutes to be able to get. And here's what the information. I will do the best job that I can, and that's not get me. I feel sorry for you guys here in order to see what happens. Okay. So, to begin, and first of all, so for all of the individuals who stayed back to be able to get this information, I really appreciate you guys. You guys all got gold stars. And for the board, I appreciate you showing, I appreciate you being here and the opportunity to provide some information to you. That's not fair. I promise you keep this as brief as possible. Definitely give you the information you need, or that we need in order to make the decisions that we're going to be making moving forward. So first of all, I want to jump into the idea of what the purpose of this presentation is. So this board presentation, presentation of the community forum is mainly the main purpose behind this is to set a stage. We're getting ready to jump into our planning season. Our school principals are in the process of starting to move and starting to make significant moves toward building their school plans. You're going to start seeing those coming to the board before the first day of school. That's happening right now, and they're working hard to make that happen. So at that same time, you know that the local control and accountability plan and our strategic plan and all of the other plans, our EL master plan, and all those pieces are getting ready to come to the board as starting to close out the year, because we need to start off 23-24 with our feet on the ground, ready to go, running and doing the best work that we can possible. So this is the beginning of a why in terms of the changes that we're looking to start making in Lancaster School District moving into the 23-24 school year. So let's make sure that we understood that purpose. The mission and the vision of Lancaster School District must be at the forefront of everything that we do. So I want to, Dr. Mary is an expert on every Monday message at saying that we are all about creating options and excellence in education, empowering all students to reach their full potential, and making sure that that's well known by our community at large, and make sure everybody knows what's going on in the district for that particular purpose. The mission of the district, just making sure that we're all aware of this, is to provide a relevant, high-quality education with an inclusive and culturally respectful environment, preparing all students for personal and professional success. This, in every essence, is the embodiment of a plan that we have moving forward in 23-24, what we're working on through 23-24. So, given the situation where we're at, I wanted to, this is kind of small, I apologize for that, but I wanted to make sure that we're all reminded of what is actually in our local control and accountability plan as it sits in 22-23.
So currently, I want to remind ourselves that we have 5 main goals that we're sitting with. Academics is the first one. That's the one that talks about how we're providing options and excellence to our students. Equitable learning practices and positive learning environments, how we're building our schools up to be the best and strongest possible schools for our kids and to create a safe environment for them. That safe supportive environments, again, making students and doing all we can to be able to provide students with the ability to feel safe inside of our school walls. And I want to really emphasize inside of our school walls. We're really working hard at that. And the 4th goal that we see is that family community engagement. That's a piece that we are all about, building the capacity of our families, making sure that our families know how to interact with us. And even more important, you're going to see tonight, the idea of allowing and working with families to help them become decision makers in our systems. If they are also decision makers within our systems, to make sure that they're part of that decision making process. That final goal that we added this year, and I can tell you as of some conversation that we've had so far thus far this year, we're looking at moving it and wrapping it into the other 4 goals.
Can you read that, Jordan, because it's covered by the transcription?
Yeah, so our universal transitional kindergarten goal talks about Lancaster School District will provide an inclusive, developmentally appropriate, play-based universal transitional kindergarten experience as part of a larger pre-kindergarten grade 3, that's a P3 alignment framework. And that is generally handled and worked with district-wide at our school sites as we started the process of implementing UTK into our system, making sure we're really working with our Lancaster, talking about Lancaster's littlest learners, making sure that students are on point to be able to walk into school, into that kindergarten year ready to learn. With that said, again, I'm trying to set the why here for some of this information. I do want to make sure that we're all aware of where we sit, and you've seen this information from us in the past. This is that information having to do with our local Lancaster dashboard. Always going to bring this in front of us because we have to realize and remember some of the purposes as to why we're doing and where we sit as the school, as a district right now. We do have work to do. I want to make sure that I'm going to focus on that area that talks about district at that top one, and we have all of our schools listed, but I really want to focus on that area that top one that talks about district and differentiated assistance, which is going to require us to do some work. And that's going to be brought back to you in terms of our local control and accountability plan moving forward. But we are also in ATSI in almost all of our other schools, which is additional target support improvement, which means that there's specific populations in our school district that we need to address. On almost every one of our school sites, we can see that our students with disability are one of those schools, one of those populations that we really need to be significantly targeting. Napoleon is going to be, that's where we're going to be working. we're going to focus, and they will be involved in our local control and accountability plan. As well as the schools that we have that are in comprehensive support and improvement, that's CSA stands for comprehensive support and improvement, which means that the systems in our school and those schools need to be looked at to see how we can better serve students in those schools. So all of that is said and done, and all of the numbers that we talk about in terms of our dashboard, wonderful numbers. They help us to be able to provide some context, but I'm going to tell you that they do not provide the context that we need to be able to drive our school system forward. In every essence of the work that I believe that we need to do, and I think that most of us would say that if we're not listening to our public, if we're not listening to our teachers, we're not listening to our staff, our PSA staff, our classified staff, we're not listening to our administrators, our principals, our assistant principals, coordinators, our directors, all the way to assistant superintendents and the superintendent himself. If we don't have we're not taking the perspective of everybody in the system, then we are not meeting the needs of the system. And in this particular place, you hear me say that word system a lot, because that's what we have to build. We're not about a one-off where we can just be in a position where we can have one great year and then the next year not a great year and the next year good. That doesn't work. We need to systemically get better. Continuous improvement is the goal here. So what we did here is we provided you information on our YouTube survey, and you know that this is one of those pieces that is required by Ed Code for us to be able to provide you information directly on, provide a community of the 6 people here in the community, direct information on from exactly how we're doing in terms of these areas. So I wanted to point this out. We had about 10,000 PTA respondents from our multiple partner groups, middle school staff, middle school families, also our middle school students, as well as our elementary staff, elementary families, and elementary students were approached at the third grade and up to be able to take this. We didn't go below just because it gets kind of funky on the reading side for a lot of our younger students. We generally have more conversation, qualitative conversation with those students to be able to work through them. But you can see the numbers of what we had in terms of specific students and staff. So for the first measure that we have here, I want to discuss a little bit about engagement within our system. So when we're talking engagement, we're talking, again, this is reference from 3 different groups: our students, our families, and our staff. So all 3 were approached here. And when we talk staff, we're not just talking our teachers, we're talking about our system staff, so our classified staff. There, and all of these people are those people at the school sites who are focusing on it. Every one of our school sites has had the benefit of having this data for their school plans to help them drive their systems forward. So that's another piece to this. So I want to point this out in terms of engagement. When we talk about engagement for our students, we're generally talking about how they interact with their educational system, how they're interacting with how they see their education, and how they're engaged with their education. For the staff and the family, it's more about how decision-making is happening and who's making decisions and how they're involved in the decision-making process, which I believe is an important piece, and that ownership is huge for any one of our state groups or education partner groups. So for this particular one, what I wanted to do is I'm going to point out a couple of hard. I'm not going to go over every single one because we have access to all of these, and the community will have access to them as well. But I did want to point out a couple here. The first one is going to talk about that question. So what I provided you here, back up a little bit. What I provided you here are the percents positive on the survey. So these are the survey, these questions. For instance, I'm proud of my school. Your district, February 2023, that 76% means that 76% of our elementary staff say that they are proud of their school. Does that make sense? So for this one, I wanted to point out this last one of the elementary staff, this piece that talks about, I feel that my work contributes to the goals of my school. This shows about how our elementary staff looks and perceives themselves as being a part of the system and part of the decision-making structure of the school. So 87% of our students, of our staff, feel as though that they have that decision-making power within the school system, which is, I mean, above 80% is kind of is a significant goal, because that means that we've got a significant portion of our staff that feels that they're part of the school decision. The one caveat to that I wanted to point out is that we've got 3 years worth of data at this particular point, where for that particular measure, it's been 91 and 91% respectively in 2020 and 2021. Remember, I believe in February 2021, we were still in somewhat of COVID time. So 91% of our people were saying they were involved when COVID, when we were in the middle of COVID. Yeah, so that's just to kind of gauge some perspective. For our middle school staff, the one that I wanted to point out here was the idea that I feel empowered to play a meaningful role in decision-making in my school. We had, in this one, it's covered up by what I'm saying right there, but you're going to see that about 5% of our middle school staff feels that they are involved in the situation and that they feel that they are empowered to play a meaningful role in their decision-making process. For our engagement with our students, which is a huge piece for our students, because we want to make sure we need our students to feel like they're involved in the system as well. In this particular vein, the piece that I wanted to point out sits with that last question that says, does your teacher want you to do your best? Our kids, our elementary students believe that their teachers want them to do the best they can. That's a good solid score. That means that's including the students that sit there and may act a little out of sorts. 90% of our students feel that they think that their teacher wants them to do great. That's a commendable number. For the middle school, I did want to point out that we do have that I take pride in my schoolwork. We only had 51% of our students who are responding positively to that data. Again, middle school. And those are tough years for some students, and some students find it difficult to they find it difficult to take pride in their work. Remember when you were 13, 14 years old? I've got a 13, 14, 18-year-old in my household right now. My 18-year-old, look at that. Folks just not listening. Sometimes taking that private school board, not always the first priority. Well, she's graduating soon, so sometimes it's not always the biggest of things to be focusing on. But, okay, so jumping into engagement with families, because I really feel that the engagement with families is a significant piece. The idea that I feel informed about important decisions regarding my school. So this is just the idea that the families feel that they're informed about what's happening in their schools. We had 62%, which is above what we had last year. Say providing positive feedback. And then the idea that I feel represented by parent and family groups, for example, parent associations. Parent associations, welcome to the new parent association, and great job, Ms. Yale, for providing that, for starting that up over the desk. 54% are saying at the elementary level that they feel that they're represented by their parent groups. So our parent groups in Lancaster School District consist of our AAACs, so our African American Advisor Councils, as well as our English Language Advisor Councils and our school site councils, all responsible for that decision-making structure. Tell you from experience as a principal myself, having been a principal, there are times when it's easier to get people to show up at things, and it's times when it's harder to get people to show up at things. So that's part of that plays into part of that. Under the middle school piece, I want to point out that I feel informed about important decisions regarding my school. 51% responded positively to this. So the other main point that I'm going to jump to, and after I'm finished with this one, I want to make sure that I give you guys an opportunity to take a look at some of the main strengths that we see here. But our definitions of relationships, for our students, it's going to describe the degree to which students feel they receive support and personal attention from their teachers, meaning that they have a one-on-one relationship with their teacher. So the relationship is not with each other, it's with their teacher. Evidence, research, educational research, all of the greats would tell you that I've got 26 seconds left. But all the greats would tell you that when we're talking about relationship, having that one adult on a campus is one of the biggest telltale signs that a student is going to be successful in school or successful long-term in life. That's why we talk about mentorship being a big deal. That's why we talk about. That's why our campus supervisors are a big deal. I swear to God. If this was not a community forum, any case, I love my friends. Okay. Yeah, oh my gosh. Okay. Anyways, but I think that's an important piece to make. That this is judging the idea of how students feel about their the adults in their life or the adults in their schools. Under staff and family, it describes the degree to which staff experience positive relationships in their school based on respect, care, and approachability. Some of that has to do with between kids and staff. Most of that has to do with between different adults in the system. I worked at some of the best schools in Lancaster School District. I worked at Parkview Middle School and I worked at Endeavor Middle School. I had a great time at both of those schools. I taught at those schools, taught U.S. history and 47 in Parkview. The relationships among staff, very, very strong. And when you have those relationships among staff, it leads into a level in school. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus here on the issues, on the relationships with our students. So when we talk about relationships with our students, I want to talk a little bit more about under our elementary students, how our kids are saying that 7% of our kids are saying that their teachers treat them fair. So I want to define fair as an elementary school student. When I say my teachers treat me fair, most of the time what I'm saying is I like my teacher. So that's the secret third grade language or secret fifth grade language that the kid is actually speaking when we're talking about that. So I think that when we're looking at a 70%, could we do better? Yes, we're doing pretty good. I think so. If you really think about it. So I want to make sure that that's coming out. Under the middle school piece, it says how many of your teachers try to be fair? same number, we're sitting at around 51%. This is a number that we probably could be strong with in terms of getting students. And it's not, and the thing is that it's a perception of fairness. It's not actual. It may not be actual thing, but it's the perception of fairness, which might, in many different ways, be a discussion between the student and the staff, just to make sure that it's known both ways what's going on. Another piece to this was the emotional mental health piece, and I thought this was important because this was a new measure that we started last year to take data on, and I thought that it was a benefit for us as a whole to be able to take a look at this and see what this was actually saying. And this last bullet at the bottom under the middle school one is where I wanted to focus, where it says, when I'm feeling upset, stressed, or having problems, there's an adult from the school who I can talk to about it. So I want you all to imagine, close your eyes, keep your eyes open, and think about what our kids just finished. In terms of some, and I mean, I do focus groups with our students in this district quite often. And when I talk to them, some of our students are coming from some very traumatic places. We all know that. What is it, 5% of our student population foster, some schools we have 11% homeless. Given that particular perspective, about how, if I don't have somebody to talk to about that can drive me a little insane. That is a problem. So our schools say that, our kids are saying that at the middle school level, are currently saying 40% are saying that they have. That might, I would say, warrant a little bit. That does not mean, and I'm going to say this very publicly, that does not mean that our teachers are not making themselves available. What it might mean is that the kids don't see them as available, which provides it, which I would tell you, having known and having worked with many of the middle school teachers that we have in this district, I don't know one teacher that would turn their back on the student for an arbitrary reason. I think every one of our teachers would be is going to our kids. So I think that I wanted to point that out.
Can we, before you click on that, can we close the translation so we can see those numbers on that? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that helps me out too, because now I don't have to look at my paper that I think every single. So looking back at this with relationships with families, again, I actually wanted to focus, I'm just going to focus on the middle school administrators treat families with respect. Again, these are pretty decent, under 70%. Having worked in the middle school, sometimes that goes north and south depending on the day. Yeah, sometimes. So and remember, this is a snapshot of time. One day in February that we decided to give it, or one day that these kids took this step for the month of February. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. So the definition, so jumping into culture a little bit. I want to make sure that we understand this under middle school and elementary school, it's two different definitions. For our students in middle school, this culture measure describes the degree to which students believe their school fosters according to respect and fairness. For our elementary schools, it talks about how students experience an orderly, respectful classroom environment. So it's a little bit different. It's a degree. One of them talks about the school and classroom environment. The other one talks about how they feel respect and fairness from their school. Staff talks about vision, but talks about how the school fosters a culture of shared vision, respect, and effective communication. As well as in our families talk about the degree to which families believe their school fosters shared goals, respect, fairness, and diversity in their systems. So when we look at this one, I'm just going to jump to our culture for the students because I think this is the important one we look at. The one that I want to focus on here is under the middle school students. It talks about adults from my school treat students with respect. We have about 50% of our students that believe that the adults in the middle schools treat students with respect. And again, I would say that, and again, that's down over the last 3 years of 80% on a pandemic year, 56% in the previous year, last year, 50% this year, what we're seeing currently. That's from the perspective. On the elementary side, I did want to point this out, because this is something that we're going to significantly have to work on in terms of our goal 3 and our global control and have a good point. This idea that students take it jumps to something that, again, we back from some time. even forget the pandemic, there's still trauma coming with our kids are experiencing, homelessness our kids are experiencing, and a lot of conditions in which our students are actually. For our families though, I wanted to point out specific to our elementary families, I am proud of my school. I think that's a good one. 72%, that's pretty good. For our families, 72% of our families are actually saying that they're proud of the schools that their kids go to. So I'm bragging. My child goes to John and Jacqueline Miller. I have John and Jacqueline Miller. I think that the school staff is amazing. I think she's a good, she's still here, so I'm not gonna say anything that's not. I'm just kidding. I would say that Robertson is an excellent person. I would say that the people that we have at that school, so that my daughter knows, campus Joseph, the ex-student of mine from way back when I was in Endeavor. This kid did everything every day. My daughter talks, says something that Joseph said to her. Something that is just amazing. Now I gotta tell you that I would say that I'm proud of the school that my child goes to. Person, like community person. And people in my community say the same thing. So the definition of professional, so then we're gonna jump into professional development. So families obviously are not addressing professional development, but our staff is, and I want to make sure we jump into that one. This is an important one, and sorry it's so small. I know you can't read it. I can though. And I'll give I'll be sending you copies of all of these pieces so that you guys have access to it in writing, so you guys can jump into it and look at this extra pleasure, extra reason. The big one here that I wanted to bring up is the idea that my school supports me in implementing what I have learned in professional development. So when we're talking about, and this is hats off to Miss Thompson. She does a lot of solid work in terms of building a professional development program for our schools. And then our schools do a heck of a job of really pushing that professional development through our Peak Tuesday schedules, making sure that that's happening on a consistent. So at our elementary levels, this year, early literacy was a big deal. It will continue to be a big deal for years on end. And we can see that our staff is actually still our staff see, and they appreciate it. Another piece that I want to talk to towards the middle school, who has not had the level of the early literacy, but they do say that the feedback I receive from my colleagues helps me improve my work. So one of the benefits of our educational system is that our teachers, ILTs, the structural leadership team, actually, well, this is more administrative, but we do visit the classrooms. We do offer feedback to the ILT, and the structural leadership teams offer this part are meant to provide feedback back to us. There's significant feedback, and it generally is successful. So that's a huge piece because that provides people with that ability towards growth to become better in their profession. Because I don't know anybody in the teaching profession doesn't want to become better than they were yesterday on a constant. Okay, almost. So for that, professional development speaks directly towards academic challenge for our students and how they perceive their work. And here's where I want to point out: in the middle school level says, in order to get a good grade, I have to work hard in part of my classes, which speaks towards the perceived rigor of education at the middle level. 79% of our kids say that they feel like they need to work hard to make good grades. That's good. That means that, our kids are starting to our kids do realize and understand the value of hard work, and that's a big deal. Under our elementary schools, it says, do you learn interesting things in school? 58%. Wow. There's some interesting things that our kids get to learn in school. We all know that. And again, this data kind of shows that more than half of our kids are seeing that they appreciate what they're learning and they're seeing some benefits. So jumping into resources, and I think this is getting folks to the end of this. When we talk about our definition of resources, it talks about how we're providing resources to our families. This is a big deal. It's our welcome and wellness centers. So we're going to do with welcome and wellness, but not just with our welcome and wellness centers, how our schools actually doing as well. So we talk about this one, our middle school families, and this is specific to our families as a whole, but the idea that my school provides the guidance necessary to help my child succeed is provided in elementary levels is a significant win for us at 76%. Positive, and again, that jumps to 63% in the middle levels when they start talking about how they feel like the school will help their child succeed. The last piece that I'm going to go over tonight, because I want to make sure that we jump into some of the pieces having to do with the strengths, some of the strengths and weaknesses that we have in the district that we're looking towards for the strengths and challenges. But this definition of safety talks about how our kids feel safe, how our staff feel safe, perceive safe for students, and how they perceive it to be a safe learning environment. And same thing for families, how families will perceive that their school is a safe place and they feel good sending their kids to school. Again, say like my school, my particular school, I send my kid there, she can spend it at chance. We look at our middle schools here. In my school, there are clear rules for students against hurting other people. That's a pretty, I would hope that that's consistent across the system. And in our district, our middle school staff says about 60% are responding positively to this particular question. That means that we could probably do some work just because of the nature of that question. Because we do want to make sure that it is very extremely important that there be clear guidelines and rules in terms of those particular pieces. Now, are there clear guidelines? I wouldn't doubt it. I don't know any principal or any teacher or staff that would ever say, hey, yeah, go ahead, it's time to go fight. That does not happen. But the perception is that you need to make sure that that's very much outspoken. That's something we can work on. In the elementary level, 80% positive or respond positively to that, saying that in my school there are clear rules for students against hurting. Meaning, so that could mean in perspective between middle and elementary, but there's a clear guidelines to how things are approached if something were to happen. Under school safety for our elementary students, they talk about the different areas in which you're looking about where they feel safe. The biggest one here that I want to point out is we feel safe going to school, because this is one that worried me over the last couple of years, because I've seen it in that 60s, that 60%. I've been trying to want to get that higher. I want my kids to feel safe in their communities. And that question actually speaks for itself. Like how safe do I feel letting my student, how safe do I feel as a student going to school? For families, we talk about the same type of feel. My child's learning environment is safe, 55% for middle schools. For elementary schools, 69%. So, in generally speaking, in elementary schools, safety is there's a little bit higher perception of safety, and that's a nationwide trend in this particular report. So, one of the last pieces, belonging and peer collaboration. This brings how students feel that they belong to the school. So, another significant piece when I talk about adults being important, making that adult and student relationship being important. The other piece to that is that idea of belonging and peer collaboration. That idea of belonging. Students need to feel like they belong to the school, or that the school that they have a space in that particular school. And then there's that final area for our families and talks about definition of communication and feedback, or communication and feedback. They're receiving information back from the school site that is relevant they can use with their kids. So belonging and peer collaboration in terms of the elementary students. This is one where we talk about can you be yourself with other students? In the elementary level, I don't know how you in elementary school, but I have a case. And it would appear that 50% of our students still have a case that is different than the case that they would like to show with others. That means that there's some work that needs to be done in terms of our ability to bring that out. Is that the teacher's job? Probably not. But there's some work that we need to do as a staff as a whole, to be able to make sure that kids feel comfortable being who they are. Under middle schools, I think the one that's probably a little more concerning here is I really feel like a part of my school's community, that 35%, I worry about that. Because when we talk about belonging and peer collaboration, specifically belonging with kids and feeling like they're part of this kid's community, it's easy for me to act up if I don't think you like me, or if I don't feel like I'm a part of this community. And we see that in Lancaster, the city, sometimes, when we see people who are outside of, not brought into the community as a whole. You on the board are leaders in the community. Being leaders in the community, you obviously feel part of the community, and I'm sure you're proud of our community. We working in the district in Lancaster School District, extremely proud of the country. want to see what the best is, if they think the kids are the best kids in the world, and not working for difference. I think that we can do some great work. I think that in this particular area, though, we need to do some better work to make sure kids feel like they belong, specifically in those schools. Communication, feedback, and families. The piece here that I wanted to point out that I received information about what my child should learn and be able to do this. When we talk about middle school level, when we talk about pieces having to do with family engagement. Family engagement is no longer, although it's very fun to have football festivals and all those pieces, family engagement is also about how can I help us to get right at home. So I would like to redefine family engagement to some degree in such a way that how do I, if not all of our families are going to come to the school site council meeting on Wednesday night, but all of our families can support our children in early literacy. I think we've done a great job because we've got the libraries in front of the so. Okay, so I want to jump into the meeting or the meetings. We're close to finish, I promise. But I wanted to jump into this particular piece, talk about some success that we have. So we do know that our staff feels as though, and these are coming from responses from our staff specifically, words, not so much words out of their own, but out of the I guess the themes after you theme it up. And I will list them. There are more themes, but some of the things that popped up are staff feels as though they have access to meaningful professional development opportunities and that it provides them with content knowledge. That's big. Staff feel prepared. Staff generally understand their school's goals. That's for me as the guy who works with strategic plans. That speaks to my heart. That means that our teachers know exactly what the goals are of the school. I mean, I could tell you, maybe 5 years ago, there was a good portion of our or 8 years ago, most of our teachers, there's a good portion of our teachers who didn't know what the school plan was, or that there one that one existed. And now they know that the school plan exists. And that last one that I highlighted was teachers connecting with learning, class, with life out of school. So teachers are able to connect learning with what's going on in school and outside of school. So that's what we call relevance. So rigor, relevance, and relationships are the 3 R's, are the new 3 R's to education. And really being able to focus and be able to build a successful educational environment. Some of the challenges we're experiencing, I'm only going to go over about 1 or 2 of these, but I want to emphasize one of these: student behavior. Now, I'm going to park on this one for 2 more seconds, maybe 10 seconds. But when we're talking about student behavior, you got to remember every behavior is some type of communication coming from. So whatever that behavior might be, there's some type of communication coming from that. That was something that we did see with the elementary schools. And then that top when staff and students caring about each other, it popped up as a challenge. I didn't buy it as a challenge. I know our staff cared about our kids, and I know that our kids genuinely do care about our staff. But I pointed that out kind of like I don't think that's one. And we also do our students' perception of adults at school, treating them with respect. The middle school level, we did see that, and that could be resolved with other things. With that said, I did want to point out to everybody that we are not done. We just begun. Our whole process of building the 23-24 plans. We're in the process. We're going to do great work, and we're still meeting with families in the upcoming weeks. I'm meeting with Dr. Marietta this year, first time we really had all of our ASD students in this room, and I was able to get lots of great information from them, and I'm going back to circle back with them over the next couple of weeks to have some conversations with them and tell them what they told us here and in some other areas, and also talk about what some of our elementary kids have said, because our elementary kids have a voice too. And I visited about 4 or 5 schools to get some perspectives from them to see what they're saying as well, to see where they're going, what their thoughts are. So with that said, I want to thank you so much. I know it took a little over 15 minutes. That's fine. But there's Miss Gail back there. But I did want to say thank you. If there's any questions, I'm here to take them.
All right, anybody got any questions? Thank you. Hold on, you got questions?
Think back to the first 15 minutes. You said something that I just want to clarify. You said there's a parent on this ground, a student has a better chance to succeed?
I said adults. I said,
An adult.
an adult. So if the idea, the research says, and I can get you the I can get the citation for you. But there's research that says if there's one adult on campus, students need to have one positive relationship with an adult on campus. Just one to really be successful. And it's like this. I used to run mentorship programs at some of the schools that I ran, that I worked at. In that particular process, what I found personally, and this was backed up by educational research, that when that child has one person to go to with their problems, with what was going on at home, that means I've talked to that person before I walked into my classroom, or even during the classroom, during my classroom time, I've gotten that off my chest. Now I can go learn. So think about this. You've all heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? That whole idea of that belonging piece sits right at that base. And they need to feel connected, some type of connection to one person. It's very, very important.
The reason I asked that, and thank you for clarifying.
Sorry, that was a long answer to a very.
No, it was a good answer, and I appreciate it. And, we had a parent, adult, on a campus at El Dorado for quite a few years, Mike Sisson. And he created a volunteer program that he showed up at that campus nearly every day after he retired from the post office. And he would sit outside the classroom with a student and mentor them, like you were saying. And I think if I look at the dashboards for our local schools, El Dorado is one of the highest, one of the higher rated schools.
I want to point out that that's, first of all, we need to honor him. Mike was an incredible.
Yes, he was.
He was not. He was way above. He was way above. I love that guy. One of our first family ambassadors in Lancaster School District. In fact, when that job was created, and we worked on bringing that job to fruition, that man was who was in.
Yes, he was.
Was the man for that job. He was probably one of the most. Now, I would like to tell you that say it, I'm gonna say it. Family, that whole idea of family, if those families, when families feel part of the school community, I think that is probably we can talk math, science, social, language arts all day long, but if you don't have a relationship, and that math, science, social, language arts is probably happening. First. But that I could be wrong.
And the SEL that Mike brought to those students was high class. I mean, you're right, there's nobody quite like Mike Sisson.
Yeah.
Well, we have PTAs forming in Desert View, and we have other PTAs, some of the schools, that allow those parents, adults, to be on the campus assisting with those students somehow.
I'd like to say, if you've all visited our campus, and you guys have seen our principals at the end of the day, seen our principals at the beginning of the day, principals, generally speaking, are out front, and if they're not out front, they're inside the campus talking to parents. I can tell you, specifically to the school that you're speaking about, that principal is in front of that school on a consistent basis. I've been there, I've just driven by just to go see what's going on. The crazy traffic, you'll still see that principal out there greeting every single family and then, giving them help. That's a huge piece. And I think that's one of the things that specifically with our staff leaders, I feel that they embody the idea that they are also communities. They're not, you can't be a school principal and not be a leader. You are, it just is. And I think that many of our people are taking that on. very serious. Sorry, that was, again, long answer.
And let me ask one more question regarding the youth truth
Yes,
survey.
yes.
Is it just once a year that you're doing it?
So we do the youth truth once a year, but we do formative assessments, formative surveys all throughout the year. So for instance, for instance, Dr. Mary, running thought exchange at the beginning of the year. Probably done about what thought exchanges this year. So we're getting consistent information. We try to get as consistent information as possible from different educational partner groups. So it might be for families. A lot of the times it's going to staff, getting a lot of information, trying to get information from staff, students sometimes. Students who completed a thought exchange survey or a thought exchange, which is more qualitative. You still see those coming up when we get into probably not as long of a presentation, but you see those coming up in the near future.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, go ahead, Diane.
So, did you do a comparison of the results of our survey to other districts around the country?
Yes. So we do have that information involved in the survey. Me particularly, I'm more concerned with how we compare to ourselves from year by year, because I want to see that we grow. So there actually is a measure to this that anyone references us compared to what the rest of the nation is doing, and then what like districts with our similar demographics.
Yeah,
So I can bring that data to you.
that'd be great. And do we have a way for them to suggest something they'd like to see? Some new idea?
Principal or like?
No, during the survey.
Yes, so there are actual, we're preparing we're getting ready to prepare for training coming from youth truth, and we'll sit in with our principals as a whole and say, so look at this data, just give them some hours to go really dig into the data and see what's going on with triangulate that with the academic data that's going on in different schools. And then they will be able to sit and they will have that opportunity to really be able to identify some significant actions. And youth truth, they do recommend actions.
Yeah.
Although I don't, me personally, from what I've seen, having worked with districts in this valley, when the Antelope Valley is a different place. And we gotta be very careful to take what's happening, things that might happen in like South Dakota or other areas of the country and then apply them here in language. It doesn't work.
No.
So.
No. And then one more question. I'd be very interested too in knowing how many of the kids are at the same school, how much movement we're still having from one school to another.
So transparency rates, I can pull the trainer. We did that.
That'd be great. Thank you.
So get those to you next time.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Well, thank you so much for giving us all the information, and thank you for everybody that stayed. And Debbie, thanks for the cookies. I forgot to mention that. They were awesome. Much appreciated.
And congratulations to the Little Debbie Award of the winner of the evening. Hot things.
Victory.
Good chair.
84-year-old cakes, come on.
Stuck up in my office.
Yeah.
Right, guys, you get it
From Christmas. From
Wait,
Christmas.
there's one for this?
I never forgot to do that for months, years.
That might be actually.
I'll give you a little Debbie's out here.
That's right.